So before jumping to the polyrhythms and polymeters, let's make sure that we understand the difference. So the first one is polyrhythm. So on top we have the right, there's a 1 bar loop and the division is made into 3. So we are hearing 3 right hits. On the bottom, again we have the same length, but this time we are having 2 hits. And because of that, we have 2 different rhythms hitting at different times, hence the name polyrhythms. For the polymeter, on top we have a loop for a bar, 4 hits. On the bottom, we have a rhythm that has a length of 1.5 bar, 6 hits. In polymeters, the length is this time different, but the rhythm is the same, the divisions are same, they always hit the same time. So if we sum up, in polyrhythms, we have 2 different rhythms, the same length, but the division is different. In the polymeters, we have the same rhythm, divisions are the same, but the lengths are different. For the first one, I would like to start with one of my own tricks. We have a 1 bar loop here, divided into 3. And on top of that, we have a percussion. It is not really a percussion, actually. This is a clap. I tend to take the tail of the claps to make my percussions, especially if I need something noisy. 2 hits. But because we are making electronic dance music, we have to increase the speed of these. So what I'm going to do, pick both of them, divide by 2. So we have instead faster rhythm. And the same thing over here, take all, divide 2. When you play them together, they will sound like this. Main glue here actually comes from a sidechain compression, and this is really, really important. You have to have a compression sidechain to kick, so it starts to play tricks in your head. It gets harder to actually separate them, isn't it? And listen how much complexity this adds to the track. Without. With. So in the second example, we will do 3/4. First, for the 4, we have a kick 4 to the floor. But for the third, this time, rather than using percussion sound, we will use a vocal chop. And the vocal chop, the trick comes making this a bit more ambience. First, an EQ and hybrid reverb. And I'm gonna do another reverb, vintage reverb. So what is this called? Actually, room in a room reverb, or in this case, we are using a hole in a hole, creating this very confusing ambience. And on top of that, we have sidechain to kick. These 2 elements already creates the huge ambience, and you just add a tom and a lead sound on top of this, you get the half of the track already. Tom sound coming from my Berlin pack, and then a lead sound coming from my analog techno pack. Together. By the way, if you are looking for easy method to make polyrhythms, it's quite straightforward in Ableton. But you need to just decide how many beats that you will have, and afterwards you create one more than what you need. So here, for example, 6, and then here, this small thing, you pull it to here. Let's say I want another rhythm, and this time I want 7, right? Then do the same thing, 8, again 1 more, then bring this down. And if you loop this one, you have 5 or 7 polyrhythm. Really straightforward. This video turned into like me pulling down all the secrets, but this is another trick that used a lot in the genre, a lot in the industry. This is especially useful if you want to create this kind of a bit mysterious driving background ambience. First, as you remember, the main idea of the polymeter is using the same rhythm but changing the length. And this time we have this serum patch again from analog techno, looks like this, but take a look at the length of the pattern. So what you will be looking for is just looping this, something like this, and then if you play together with the bass, most of the time you will see that this is just looped forever. But the way I like it, the main trick over here is just to mess up with the brain of the listeners, is that you go like this 2 bars, or depending on your chord progression. So I have a chord progression here, simple pad progression really, and after 2 bars it just changes the 1 note, goes above, creating this kind of tension. Like, take a look. Dun, dun. Very typical. What we're gonna do is, like, right here, before we actually conclude the loop, we're gonna copy this, paste one more time, so we are resetting it, and then we're gonna push this note up here. It kind of merges into the pad progression. Take a look at now. And on top of that, you would often have a very heavy lead sound. If you want to see an example, take a look at my track that's called Kerfuffle. I just used this trick there really. Okay, this one is way to make cinematic techno. So it starts like this. First, you need to just pick a scale, we are in the C minor, and put all the notes in your scale in your MIDI. And after the verse, you have to pick how many of those notes you will use. I like to stop oftentimes at 5 because now we have a stable note here, G. Start with this stable, and with stable it just gives more cinematic feel. And once you pick it, you click on the loop, so it loops here. And then you can extend it here. We end up something like this. For this to work, you need to also pick a stronger string-like preset. In this case, I'm using this preset from my preset bag. Looks like this. And the thing that you're supposed to do here is actually supporting this with pads so that it gets more cinematic. And more important than that, you have to automate the cutoff or a parameter that makes the sound darker and brighter. If you put the pads under it, it turns into something like this. We are rising up very cinematically, very epic, going to the chorus or the drop, and then we are cooling down. So sounds like this.